Congratulations! You are tuned into Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Show, the #1 podcast for Fortune 500 executives and those who are dedicated to creating a quantum leap in leadership. Your host, Dov Baron, is the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. He's an executive mentor to leaders like you, a contributing writer for Entrepreneur Magazine, CEO World, and he's been featured on CNN, Fox, CBS, and many other notable sites. Dov Baron is an international business speaker who was named by Inc. magazine as one of the top 100 leadership speakers to hire. Now, over to Dov Baron.
Welcome, dear friends, fans, and fellow aficionados of leadership excellence. Welcome to another episode of Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Tips for Executives, part of the Full Monty interview series. I'm here today with a special guest, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But here's my question for you. In a time when there is a lot of hyperbolic conversation around global warming, the change of the planet, is there some way for this to come together in a left and right way? Very oftentimes we look at these things and see them as, like trying to save the climate as being a very left thing, and on the right, sometimes a denial of that. But is there a way to bring the two together so that it's focused on commerce and economics and at the same time taking care of the planet? Well, our guest today is about to reveal to us something that is incredibly innovative. Our guest today is David Katz. David Katz is featured on the TED.com site. That's not TEDx, that's TED. He's a superstar on the TED site, speaking about something called Plastic Bank. Now, I'm not going to tell you too much more about David other than he's won a bunch of awards and the TED Talk has gone viral and has been very effective. So let's just jump right in and welcome, put your hands together and help me welcome David Katz! All right, so let's get into it. So one of the things you said is the last thing we should do is try to save the ocean.
No. I say the last thing that we should do is clean the ocean.
Clean the ocean, right.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty controversial statement, and I love it. Because, again, I talked about this. There's a lot of hyperbole around this, save the planet. There's no climate change, there is climate change. And so this comment seems to be very, okay, now we've got the Trumpers and everybody on board. Tell us.
It's a controversial discussion because people are in the passion that something needs to be done. And they think that we need to go clean the ocean. I get it. And the discussion needs to truly be back to the metaphor of your kitchen sink overflowing. And if you're going to panic and want to go and clean the water that's falling over the floor, bucket, mop, plunger, well, you shouldn't be using any of those. We need to turn the tap off. And really within the organization, our entire focus is to be a root cause solution that prohibits the flow of plastic from entering the ocean to begin with.
So we are symptom focused rather than cause.
Correct. It's urgent or important.
Right.
And the entire world is showing up in some urgency where we need to be focused on the important.
But at the same time, it does appear to be
both.
Very urgent.
It's very urgent and very important. That's the quadrant that we're all operating in.
Right, because the latest statistic says that we have something like 40 years or something left as we record this before we are beyond any change. I can also remember that being said a while ago. So what do you think?
What do I think about that? Well, I think that we're beyond the opportunity for change already.
Okay, so tell us about that.
The conversation is just arising today. After 60 years of continuous plastic production, the plastic production has almost been rising on an exponential scale and almost rising exponentially still.
Yeah.
Even with all of the conversation that's been occurring over the last few years, do we really see a lot of organizations in deep action, in deep change? No.
Right.
Not at all. Not enough is being done fast enough, soon enough to avert the catastrophe. Now, I don't care what you think about carbon in the environment, global warming. You can't see it. It's a bit esoteric for people. Some people think, oh no, carbon's for trees. It's good. I don't care. You can't deny what's occurring in the bellies of birds and turtles and whales and this mass extinction that we're experiencing. Fastest rate of extinction ever.
Yeah.
Now, I'm touched by the knowing that every bird that we see that's belly has been filled with plastic, this decomposing corpse of birds and whales, be aware that the plastic will far outlive the decomposing corpse of the animal and be free to murder again.
That's a good point. So it can murder twice.
It can continue to murder, just like drift netting that continues to murder as it drifts.
Right.
It's a catastrophe that we need to rise into action now. Now, as an organization, we have to be a sales organization. We have to enroll corporations from around the world to use the material that we collect. Let's take a step back for everyone.
Sure.
We've built the world's largest chain of storage for the poor.
Right. So I want people to grasp that for a minute, because rather than the cleaning of an ocean or the thinking about it as cleaning the oceans, and there is a plastic island, and we all know that in the Pacific, and it's massive, and there's plastic everywhere. But your approach is very economic. And this is one of the things that I was very drawn to, was that this is, one of my crusades, if you will, is because I was deeply guilty of it and have been the victim of it, which is shame. I don't think shame works. I've been shamed and I've shamed others, and it's horrible.
No.
And along with, I think that one of the things that removes shame is empathy, compassion, and dignity. And your business model is around dignity for people who don't normally get dignity. And that's the tie-in to money, dignity, and making a difference in the planet. And I just love that. So tell us more about the bank.
You opened with left and right. And our model ultimately is one that unites humanity. No matter what you're thinking, there's a benefit for everyone. The beauty in an ecosystem is that it is absolutely win, 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 win. Win. Even the plastic wins, it becomes new again.
Right.
Everything wins. Everyone benefits from what we create. And this chain of stores, this chain of bank branches for the poor, allow the world to use plastic like money. That's what we've done. We've monetized waste. We're United Nations awarded for the initiative that we've created a economic model using plastic garbage as the input. Deposit plastic garbage at a bank branch, withdraw cash, or use your digital wallet to buy the things you or your children need the most. We provide dignity into those areas that have no opportunity. I mean, the traditional model of the benevolence, this nonprofit world that has been giving handouts to the world, removes dignity.
Absolutely.
We take people from their knees to their back in that model, or from their back to their knees rather. And we take people from their back to their feet.
Yeah.
And we create an unlimited income opportunity for the world to go and collect volumes of material and use that as money. It's just so simple. It's so simple. It's plastic by mass as a form of payment. Now that plastic we collect is social plastic. That's the trademark for it. I can't think of something more eloquent for it. It's social plastic. It's something that's been gathered by the world, for the world, putting into action, being in the stewardship of all life. Because every piece of material that's prohibited from flowing into the ocean serves every living organism alive today and will be alive.
Right.
We're serving this generation, the next generation, and generations in the future. Truly societal, truly social, truly where humanity lives.
Right.
We've lost humanity. We've removed ourselves from the notion that we are as a result of others. This African proverb, Ubuntu. I am because of you. I am because of life. That's what we are.
I just love this, and I love the fact that many of the people who are getting involved are homeless people who would not,
totally
lost their
dignity. They don't even know that they have an opportunity for dignity.
Right.
Operating. I mean, there are billions of people around the world still living under $2 a day.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack in that conversation as well. However, the greatest contributions of ocean-bound material are coming from those areas with extreme poverty. And if you live in a country that has no government, really, they don't have money for food for the population, vast amounts of homelessness. I mean, there are areas that have 1 million people in a slum, in one simple slum. cities of people living with no hope or opportunity. And what is it like? What could it possibly be like to not have a home, to not have an address, to not have hope, to not know what may be occurring tomorrow or the next day, where your children die from simple infection? How do you become a contributor to humanity? You can't.
No.
Do you want to? Of course. Are they the most resourceful in the world? Yes, because they have to be.
Right.
Because if they're not, they die.
Yeah.
They're resourceful. They want to contribute. They want to have opportunity. They want to be. I live in a quote that reads, "We have the opportunity to choose who our children's parents will be."
Oh, I love that. Who's that by? Do you know?
David Katz.
Oh, I've heard of him.
We have
Say
the
that again.
opportunity. We have the opportunity to choose who our children's parents will be.
You know, when people say, I want to be a great parent, I don't think they think of it in that
They don't
way.
think that they get to choose and that life is a choice and they get to stand forward in that.
Well, I don't think they get. I think they think about whether I was a good parent or whether I gave my kids things. Or whether
Oh, yeah.
I was,
No.
But
No,
that's,
no.
But
No,
it's
that's-
really,
no,
I
no.
always say,
Who are
leadership
you?
is by example.
Only.
Yeah.
And
so-
especially with children, they don't do what you say, they do what you do.
Exactly. Have you seen that Australian advertisement about smoking?
No, which one?
It's fantastic because it's an adult, but the kid always following them,
Right.
always mimicking the parent.
Yes.
It's a brilliant
So
ad.
it's the same quote.
Yeah.
So you get to choose who your children's parent will be.
Because I think that we think our kids learn from what we tell them to do, but you're absolutely right. Kids learn from what they see.
What they see. Yeah.
And so when we stop and actually do a different thing, there's an example I give in my last book, Fiercely Loyal, where I talk about that Ralph has applied for a job in a company. He's very excited to go work for this company. He thinks that there's an alignment of values and everything that matters to him. He's been interviewed online, and now he goes to the office, and he walks into this beautiful open office, and there's a front desk, and the person at the front desk welcomes him, and he says, "I'm here for my meeting with HR." And oh, yeah, wonderful. Would you like some water? He says, yes. And then she says, would you like it chilled or would you like it room temperature? He says, room temperature. She gives him a bottle of water. He goes and sits down. She puts her head down, goes and lets the HR know that he's here. HR comes out. He's gone. Where's Ralph? I don't know. Maybe he went to the bathroom. They wait a few minutes. Ralph doesn't come back. What happened to Ralph? And that's the question I ask in the book. Why did Ralph disappear? Because he went home. Why? Because you gave him a bottle of water and he showed that your values on the website and the values in your conversation are misaligned. And as parents, very often that's the truth. You know, my stepdad used to have a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and his eye half closed as the smoke would go in and say, don't you ever smoke. You know, and everybody in my family except me became chain smokers. Right. And what you're doing is you're taking this at a grand level, really. It's interesting because it's at a grand level and such a basic level.
It's basic, right?
Which is pick up that bottle because it actually
has value.
It has value.
It has value. Everything has value.
Right. So it's not just pick up that bottle because it's good for the planet. It's like you can feed your children.
I'm a very solid high school student. That was really my education. And
you're ahead of me,
right? So, and I read a book a week, and I am here today because I mastered sales. I took the time to immerse myself in the fundamental skill of business, and in the many turning points that I experienced, one came in the knowing that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And it applies in life.
Right.
I mean, just go to Facebook and you can see how many people are trying to argue people into a different position. It does not work.
No.
You can't convince someone to recycle if it's not in them. You can't convince anyone to do anything. No. They'll be of the same opinion still.
Sure.
But if I can give someone an opportunity to see what's in it for them,
yes.
You know, everyone's favorite radio station, WIIFM, right? What's in it for me? Yeah. And so, now it's enlivening. And now when I give them a smattering of entrepreneurial training about how to increase their volumes, to give them the spark that it's an unlimited opportunity if they get creative and create a route or create ways to collect material en masse, that their life is now unlimited, well, that's just a different paradigm.
Absolutely.
I've had some beautiful experiences. The first ones are always the ones that we stay with us. And we also operate cooperative models. So there's many ways that we come to market. One of them is as well as cooperative, when we take individual collectors who've been collecting perhaps for years, and we bring them together under a set of bylaws. We appoint a president and a council, and we organize them so that they feel like they're not alone anymore. And because we bring them all together, it allows us to remove the middlemen.
Right.
And when we remove the middlemen, often it's a doubling of their income. Wow. Doubling. And then in a cooperative model, they have some security in case they're sick or something happens. They still make an income. They share the income. That's a cooperative. We give them power together in community. See, where the core value of the organization is to gather together. We gather the world together, or we gather organizations together to then gather the material. We need to be the conduit for collection.
Right.
That's ultimately what we do. Yeah. Now, in the cooperative model, one of our collectors in Haiti was with a tear in his eye when I asked him how are things going? How is everything working? And he says with a tear in his eye, he can now see his children going to university.
Wow.
He had elementary age children. We gave him time perspective. We went from today, tomorrow, to 20 years. We ended poverty in that man forever.
Amazing.
He was able to now see an opportunity for the future, that he had power in himself to affect change.
That would have seemed impossible.
It's impossible. It was not even in his realm of thinking.
No.
We ended poverty. That was enough for me.
Sure.
I've done why I'm here. And now I get to continue doing that.
That's absolutely awesome.
Just beautiful. We have a new cooperative in Naga City in the Philippines. 176, almost all women, that we brought together in a cooperative, doubled their income overnight. And because we also incent, so we really try to be the Candy Crush and network marketing of recycling, to give incentive, like, we level up people. There's all kinds of prizes and things. And in the first month of the cooperative, not only did they double their volume, they doubled their income. So that's a couple 100% increase. And we had 30 people, because of their volumes, were rewarded smartphones.
Wow.
Women who had never even had a phone before. We were there for a ceremony, awarded the smartphones, went back the next day. Many of them, using the very smartphone we gave them, were taking pictures of me because they wanted a Facebook profile. We went from no phone to Facebook overnight. We took someone who was alone and gave them the world.
Right. So that was something you brought up, and I was going to say something a few minutes earlier, because we now know that loneliness is the new smoking.
Yeah.
We know that people are dying because of loneliness.
Yes.
And people don't understand what that really is. I've done videos on it around suicide awareness with Anthony Bourdain. And I said, this is the problem with a social media society. We're all out there and everybody, and we say, I've got 5,000 followers, which is the max on Facebook, and I've got hundreds of thousands of people following me all over the place, and yet people are deeply lonely.
Deeply alone. Deeply unseen.
Yeah. Because they don't feel unseen. And doing anything, for me, let's just take Plastic Bank and all the amazing things you're doing aside, and just look at it from what you talked about, this cooperative, creating a community of people who can say, I
totally.
see you in me, you see me in you. And
it's beautiful. I have so many beautiful stories. Everything that we do is beauty. It's love. We gather the world together. It's the core value of the organization. We know that that's what we need to be doing at first. Gather the world together in a way that we then get to prohibit the flow of plastic from entering the ocean. We can go and collect it. We need to do habitat restorations, all kinds of things together. But gather the world together. And then love. But love the verb.
The action.
Most people believe that it's a state, that I feel love. No, to love someone is to do for them.
Yes.
What do we do for people? Love people. And often it's to create an environment where people get to love others. I was invited to the Vatican for the work we do. We have another program within congregation, within spirituality, that encourages parishioners to not just bring offering on Sunday, but to bring the recycling as well. To put the entire community in the action and service of others, to see them.
Fabulous.
one of the beautiful lessons I took away from the Vatican, of many, and I live a very spiritual life, I came to learn of an order of sisters, that the entire order, that every sister's role was to have herself invited into the home of the poor for dinner. How counterintuitive, but how beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So that you could create a space where even the poor could feel like they had value and service.
That's what I was saying about the dignity piece.
Right.
Because, I was a very poor kid, and we got stuff from the Jewish Benevolent Society. Right. And I remember how shitty that felt.
Right.
It was good that we got some clothes, and it was good that I got a school uniform, and it was good that I got, I'm not judging it. It was good that I got them.
And I get it.
But it felt like it was an insult to my dignity. Yeah. I'm not pro charity, even though I'm pro caring for people. People don't get that, but it's the dignity piece, and that when those sisters say they want to be invited into the homes of the poor, it's because there's such. This because you've been to these countries, and we've been to these countries where people are so poor. We were in Fiji. I'll give you this. This is on our honeymoon 20 years ago, and one of the things I noticed was I said to my wife, there's plastic here. Look at this on the coral. Right. 20 years ago. Yeah. It's much worse now. And I was kind of shocked by that. And we were being given a tour by Joeli, who was this big ex-Fijian rugby player. Yeah. And I don't know if you know Fijians, but they're built like brick shit houses. Yeah. They're solid. And he invited us to his home. And we went to his home. Now, obviously, we're tourists. We got a lot more money than that. Yeah. He invited us to a home, which is a shack. It's a tin garage in somebody else's house. Yeah. But it's a shack with bamboo mat on the floor, and he serves us in a tin bowl, cassava and fresh fish that he caught that day.
Awesome meal.
With lime on it, right, and chili. It was my wife's. My wife still talks about it 20 years later. Right. Because she was born in Fiji. It was her favorite meal. It was delicious. Right. But sitting on that floor with little tiny baby cockroaches crawling around things, sitting on that floor, I knew that guy felt like he was doing something spectacular. But at the same time, I felt deeply honored. We felt deeply honored to be in his house. And at that point, there's a complete leveling. And it's the interesting. What I hear in your TED Talk is what I hear in my conversations with you when we talked last time, is that this seems to be about leveling. It seems to be about equalizing. And again, it doesn't matter, because you could be, let's say you're a person who says, there is no global warming. I don't believe in the Paris Climate Accord. I don't believe in any of that. I'm a believer in making money and make the world better by making money. Right. You can get on this.
Totally.
You can say, I totally believe in saving the planet.
You can get on board. This. Totally.
And you can be a homeless person who says, I don't give a shit. Yeah. Because I just got to feed my kids. I got to eat today.
Exactly.
I got to have a roof over my head. Yep. And you can get on it. That's what I loved about this philosophy of the plastic bank, is that it's equalizing. So the question that comes up is it in place in big cities, and is it in place in places like, where there is such gross amounts of poverty, like you talked about, like the ghettos and the slums of India, where there's 1 million people in the slum.
A lot to unpack in the conversation.
Yeah, of course.
We firstly need, in the communication here, we need to be everywhere. We need to be everywhere. Right. We're gathering the billions of people on the planet to be in the monetization of material value. We're ultimately a digital platform that allows for the creation of ecosystems around us, self-formulating ecosystems. There's a banking application, it's an IBM blockchain-based banking application that allows this to happen everywhere. Right. Our focus right now, internally, is to be focused on those areas that are the greatest leachers of plastic into the ocean. That's really the beginning of this. And so we need to be there. And we continue to focus on areas like Sao Paulo, which is our first mega city. So that mega city, and that's where we get into the, this congregation model. See, we need to be exponential. We need to be everywhere simultaneously, very quickly. The world needs to be in action now. Not enough is being done. Right. And so how do we build exponentially? How do we create self-formulating ecosystems around the world simultaneously? Now, of course, we have to test, we have to do, there's many things we have to do in the process of it, but that's where we get into congregation. That's where this opportunity to benefit society by spirituality and bringing people into a place where they can bring their recycling as well. Now, as we go back into the previous communication about giving dignity, if within Catholicism, if you're tithing and you don't have anything to give, but now you can at least bring your plastic, or you can collect and be in the service over creation as well. Yeah. We also give you additional inclusion and dignity as well. You see, it continues to be win-win. There's nothing that you can't unpack to see the gift and beauty of it. And within Sao Paulo, 20 million people live in the city. Crazy. Some 60% go to church every Sunday. 12 million people.
Right.
Wow, what if we can get 12 million people in one city bringing all of their recycling to all of those locations that already exist and use that value to build the entire society? Well, that's powerful.
It's very powerful. So I want to come at it from a different angle for a moment, and that is... friend of mine is in that industry of the recycling business, and he exports to China. One of the things we know is China's buying less than it ever was. It was the largest purchaser of recyclable goods.
Now, let's be clear. They were the largest purchaser of garbage for a long time. And they're stopped taking garbage.
Right.
Awesome. As well they should have. What a bold statement for them. They caused economic chaos within the garment industry within China because all of that material that was going into garments, right? So polyesters, which is not optimal either, by the way, because a bottle should go back to a bottle. It can be infinitely recycled into a bottle. Ridiculous. It goes into clothing. And so China was importing all of this material as garbage. People were just stuffing containers with crap and shipping it to China. And China finally stood up and said, no more crap. They're dying for raw material. So what it's doing and forcing is creating a recycling infrastructure around the world where people have to pelletize the material and not ship waste material around the world. And so it's creating additional recycling opportunity around the world in an opportune moment. Whatever others may think, I think China does a lot of things really, really well.
Well, the other side of that is, part of that argument is that a lot of what we saw our recycling when we're down here and we put this there and, and all the different, and one of the things I was reading recently was how much is something like 60% of recycling does not get recycled. So what happens when more than 60? Okay, so tell us about that.
So there's an economic equation. Now, our focus, again, I'm going to come back to being a opportunity to stem the flow of plastic in the ocean. 80% of it's coming from the world's most impoverished communities.
Yes.
Most of it's coming from areas of extreme poverty. So it's a little bit easier in those areas because even a penny makes a big difference.
Sure.
But like within North America, and being the consideration that only 10, maybe 11 US states actually have a bottle deposit program.
What? I did not know that. 10 or 11 out of 50 states.
I think it's 10.
10 out of 50. So that's insane.
It's insane.
Wow.
So certainly there's an opportunity in North America. Certainly there's an opportunity to use plastic as money. But that penny that we then get to distribute within the areas of the world's most impoverished communities makes a big difference. So the economic equation is it's super simple. Yeah. But when we look at it, think of the recycling that is occurring in Vancouver when we have to send out a $300,000 garbage truck. And it's with a couple of union guys, and they're picking up all the material and all of the fuel, and then they've got to go back to some big facility, and it's tens of millions of dollars. The economic equation becomes very thin.
Exactly.
Or non-existent. And that's part of what is occurring, because all material is recyclable. All the non-rigids, all of your bags, that's highly recyclable. High demand.
Right.
But when you've got to send out a truck to go pick up, a kilo of material is, so it's not an economic equation in North American societies yet. And so we would anticipate, we hope that will change through a virgin tax. I support a virgin tax structure that provides an incentive for the use of recycled material. And that could help. I mean, there's many things that the government could be doing as well. There's many things that corporations could be doing as well. But right now, it's not an economic equation. It does not have an economic equation to incent the collection of lower value materials. It's all recyclable. Polystyrene is recyclable. It's all recyclable. And the world has all of the technology today to eliminate all the problems. All of it. Through pyrolysis and other ways to take and convert through pressure and heat all materials back into fuel. That's all. It's all available.
Right.
It's the economic equation. That's the challenge.
Well,
and this is where I become disgusted a little bit. I become disgusted that we're letting the beauty of nature die because we want another dollar, and that shareholder return is driving this. And I think that the traditional capitalist system that we're in is perverse, and it needs to change.
So that's a huge subject, and we both are very aware of B Corps and companies that are conscious capitalism and all those, and big fans of that. But it's slow, man. I mean, it feels to me like it's glacially slow. It is, yeah. Sure, there's 2 conferences a year, but it's glacially slow.
Yeah, if the world could change through conferences.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it might raise some awareness.
Sure, totally, but it's not fast enough. Not at all.
So this is a fast model because it's not reliant upon.
Yeah, I'm not waiting for anyone.
You're not waiting for stockholders or for CEOs.
Yeah, we sell. So the material we collect on volume, we sell to great corporations like the German consumer goods company Henkel, who manufactures Fa and Persil and a whole bunch of other things. And then SC Johnson, who, we're going to be in all Windex bottles coming up in July as well. They're beautiful organizations. Now, they're the ones that are acting quickly. Why? Okay, well, I'm a core values-led organization. It's really simple to walk into an organization and see the core values that they're exhibited and then their actions. Now, I don't think that there's any surprise that both of those companies are family-owned.
Of course.
Family-owned organizations. And even SC Johnson, it's making the world a better place. It's not SC Johnson selling more window cleaning stuff.
Right.
The entire ambition of the Johnson family is to make the world better. They're using the company as a conduit for change. So very simple for them. They're like, this makes sense. Right. This is making the world a better place. Let's work together. And even Henkel, you walk into Dusseldorf in the office, and they've got their core values on big pillars in the main lobby. Family, sustainability, powerful. Of course, it's real and alive in them. You walk into the Procter & Gamble head office in Geneva, of the core values, winning. It's not win-win.
No, it's winning.
No, it's winning.
Yeah.
We will win. If everyone else has to lose, so be it. So of course they're not in fast action.
But do you think, I think that there's going to come a point where they will have no choice. But the problem with that is it's a tipping of the, they may have no choice when it's too late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we need them to have a choice now. Because as you know, my work is around purpose-driven organizations led by purpose-driven leaders, creating purpose-driven cultures, not only within the company, but within those that they impact. And I'm always sort of pushing towards that. But here's the thing. Very often I'll walk into a company and I'll see those values on the wall, but they're not a verb. They're not actionable. Because, the stockholders are saying, well, we got to do better. So this is also a way for them to raise profit too.
And that's why. That's why it's so beautiful. That's why. Because I can't convince them against their will. Right. We have to give them an opportunity to connect with the consumer.
So tell us, this is, because now we get to the important part here. So how did this start for you? Because you're a business guy. Let's just tell us a little bit of your business background so that those people who are watching, who are listening go, this is some lefty guy who came up with this recycling idea. But you've got a massive background in entrepreneurial business.
Yeah, never had a job.
Never had a job.
Never had a job. I was a waiter once through college, but I felt that was that was entrepreneurship as well, because the better I took care of the customer at the table and the better I sold and served, the more I would make. So it was just a platform for me to make tips in the end. So that was really self-reliance as well. And I've had a great journey through entrepreneurship, and I've been in the continuous and progressive learning that I am powerful to overcome, and that nothing is an obstruction, it's an instruction.
That's very good. Nothing is an obstruction, it's an instruction.
Correct.
I like it.
Right. And then I really quote Ryan Holiday, the author of The Obstacle is the Way, a beautiful book, beautiful, easy read, so gorgeous, that every obstacle ultimately is an instruction, not an obstruction. It's powerful and it's important. So I've been an entrepreneur, having to overcome all the time. There's nothing that I can't overcome. And I live in the knowing that everything that I'm doing today is not against the laws of physics. We're not doing anything against the laws of physics.
No.
I'm amazed at how many people, even at the outset, were like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's not going to work." And what about the recycling? What about? It's not against the laws of physics. Of course, we can figure it out, and we get to become the people who become the people to figure it out. And I think that the one constant, or the consistent message that I love to communicate, is that in any great grand challenge, this global grand challenge that we're facing, that we're beating, came with a tremendous amount of fear at the start. Self. When I had the idea to create something that could fundamentally shift society and put billions of people in the action and stewardship over creation, it was a bit daunting.
Of course.
I mean, of all of the others, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to create something that's going to be a multinational. I'm going to have to sell to multinationals. I'm going to have to communicate with the illiterate, the fearful, the violent. I'm going to have to, there's 2,000 dialects in Africa. How are we going to face that? How are we going to build a supply chain, logistics? Whoa, David, you can't do it. I had the idea. And then, of course, I had the fear. And such a gift that I had a moment of consciousness. And that moment of consciousness, the quick moment of consciousness, David, you don't need to be the person that could do this. You need to become the person who can. So embark. And then the gift is yours.
The purpose of a goal is not to achieve the goal, but who it forms you in the process of moving towards it.
And so that was the gift of it. I was able to say, okay, I choose it. I choose to become that person. Yeah. I'm choosing to be the father that my children need. I'm choosing to be the father that the world needs.
But how did you come to the idea? Do you know?
Yes. I think it's important to understand that I grew up at the ocean's edge. I grew up at the beach. My father was a mariner. We sailed. We was always on the water. And I was able from a child, 35, 40 years ago, to begin seeing the degradation of the environment then. It's been in my realm for my life.
Right.
Where what's occurring now is just occurring for people. There's just like, what? There's plastic in whales? Like what? No, it's been happening for decades, everybody. So I was aware of that. So I was always in that consideration. We're the summation of every experience and every decision that we've ever had.
Of course.
So people ask me this all the time.
Of course.
And the authentic answer is, it was my entire lifetime that got me to where we are.
Right.
Period. Okay, where were the moments? Well, one of the moments occurred when I attended an event in Silicon Valley at Singularity University. And it was an executive program that talked about global grand challenges and about all the technology and what was occurring in life, this abundance, this opportunity for life. And one of the seminars was on additive manufacturing or 3D printing. And Avi Reichenthal was the CEO of 3D Systems. He was providing the seminar in 3D printing, and had this big brown belt that was one solid piece of manufacturing. Now, it was plastic. It came from a strand of plastic, and then using technology manufactured this belt.
Right. Cool.
And it was brown, and it had the 70s look. And I'm like, well, Avi, how much does the belt sell for? Well, $80. Well, what's the material cost? $10. And in that moment, I was like, oh, hold on a second. The only thing that determined that margin was the shape of the plastic, not the plastic itself.
Right.
And inside of that was the origin of the idea. It was not maybe changing the way that the plastic was shaped, but the way we would shape our opinion of the plastic. If we could change the way we viewed the material, maybe that could be the origin. If we looked at it now as money instead of just plastic, that could be an opportunity. So it was about an internal what it elicited was the opportunity to create a fundamental internal shift in humanity that we would now look at things as valuable. I ask everyone, if every bottle or every piece of packaging was $5, how many would we see in bins and in the environment?
That's a very good point.
None.
No.
None. Everyone would go and clamor for them. It's $5. I would go across the street for $5.
Sure.
So it's not the plastic, it's us.
Right.
It's the way we view it.
Right.
It's nothing to do with the material. Everyone wants to blame the plastic. Stop it. Stop it. It's not the plastic, it's you.
Right. It's what we're doing.
It's what you're not doing.
What
it's
you're not doing,
it's careless. We don't care for society. We've lost this connection to humanity. That we are connected to the great.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I think that we are so often lacking in the understanding that we are interwoven as a society. And when I say society, I'm not talking about your local society. I'm talking about global society. That we are interwoven, and it's very easy egoically to feel separate from, and that it's about me or about those that are in my immediate environment, my family, without realizing the impact. And I love the quantum physics quote about the butterfly. Chaos.
Sure.
The butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and there's a tsunami in Japan.
Right.
But in many ways, that is so true with every single action we do. And that's what's lovely about this is so somebody says, well, I hate doing recycling. I'm lazy. Okay, cool. But what if you had somebody who would come and get it from you?
Totally. Yeah, no,
and you could, that would be your charity.
Totally. Of course, our whole role is to make it easier for everyone. Now, I want to backtrack a little bit. Now, you were in a hut in Fiji, and I think it's important for everyone to understand powerfully that the lack of material wealth and poverty are two different things.
Okay,
two fundamental different.
Tell us about that.
Fundamentally different. A lack of material things is not poverty.
No.
At all.
Not at all.
No, you're rich. I mean, that guy was rich. He's like, whoa, I got a fresh squeezed lime on the fish, and I caught the fish. I have everything that I could possibly need. And perhaps that person doesn't suffer from the pervasive, unconscious flood, the sickness that is impacting society about them thinking that they're not enough or good enough or have enough because they don't yet have a car or don't have something else, or that they feel poor because of it, that they're not whole. Which is what's leading us to everything. Yeah,
I think that at a deep level, we live in a society that feeds greed,
I believe I think greed is a result of not feeling worthy.
Yeah, but I was going to say, it feeds greed by telling you you're not enough.
Correct.
And that and so therefore, if I have that, I'll be enough. And and I understand the psychology of marketing. I've designed it.
Yeah.
But the understanding is that, somehow if you buy this deodorant, chicks will go for you.
Totally.
Right?
Or buy this body spray, because they won't unless you do.
Right.
So you're not good enough unless you do.
Right. So, your natural body odor is
you may smell bad, is what they're telling you. You may smell bad, or your teeth aren't white enough, or everything else.
Right. And the problem with that is, I'm so good now because I got a new Toyota. Well, you're not really good enough, because what you really need is you need a Porsche, right? So, okay, now I've got a Porsche. Well, that's nice,
and
but
on
you
and on.
don't have a Lamborghini.
And on and on.
And it never ends.
And we can trace the origin back to the end of the Second World War. And I reference another beautiful book, What's Mine is Yours, about the sharing economy, and goes back to the agency that began the conversation that you need to buy more because that's what will get us out of the depression from the war and everything else. And that's what we need to do. And now we went from single story homes to double story homes to homes with carports to homes with garages because of all of the stuff that we were made to buy. And now we've got all these mega storage facilities around with stuff. We've got so much stuff that we actually export our stuff and pay to have our stuff just in storage in other places.
What's his name? The comedian, who died?
Carlson. Right. Yeah. We travel with stuff. I get a little stuff. And
the whole thing around stuff is great.
Right.
You fill your house with stuff, and then you
take a little bit of your stuff.
So you put some stuff in one of your stuff, which is
totally.
And you take it to another country where you buy more stuff, and you bring it back and put it. I mean, I read some stats around in some point in 1960 something, there were no storage facilities in the United States.
Yeah, right.
And now the amount of land space
for storage
for
stuff,
insane, right?
It's insane.
Yeah.
Because we don't think we're enough. We don't think we're good enough. Mm-hmm. We think we look bad, or we want to look good or not look bad.
Yeah.
And all of the other sicknesses that are prevailing and the unconsciousness.
Right.
Totally.
But again, coming back to the other side of that is this feeling. It's not. I don't believe it's true, but it's a feeling that is a lefty, hippie, socialist mentality to say that we need to stop being focused on having more. And I mean, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. We're both capitalists. We both believe in a capitalist economy. But I think it's the form of capitalism. Would you agree?
It's the form of capitalism.
It's not capitalism itself.
Not at all. No, I love business.
Form.
I love creating. We're inventors. We need to be continuing to invent and create. Beautiful. But we can regenerate simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And I can create value for everyone in the supply chain simultaneously. And if we can really be in the consideration of it, the more value that we create, the more we benefit from. Profit comes as a result of building value for others.
Right.
So if I can build value for everyone, I'm making more as well. Yeah, it's not a zero-sum game.
No.
That's just the easy way.
Right. So I think you've already said it, but I'm going to ask you because I want people to hear it specifically as what it is. What is your purpose?
My purpose right now is to bring consciousness and to bring an awakening to society and to bring awakening to people where they can know and see themselves as being whole and complete so they can be in a place of invention for the world.
So what do you see as the greatest opposition to that?
Well, people are unconscious, of course, and the ego mind and the psyche that keeps them from being able to understand that they're enough. The ego mind and psyche keeps appearing and giving them goals. Like, so one of the, I just turned 50 and I have a lot of these crazy reflections. I love 50. I love who I am. I love who I've become. And I live in the knowing that people are inventing, but most invent from the unconscious. Most invent from the psyche or ego attachment to thing, right? So this judgment, this attachment, this resistance, and they set goals based on something that occurred in the past that they feel that they're not valuable from, or whatever it may be. That they think that, when I'll have a new Armani suit, I'll have a Porsche, I'll have other things. And their goals are set from this unconscious, which is not real because that's the past, it doesn't exist. But when we create from the consciousness, from the real, from the true invention, from the power of all possibility, that's now powerful. Right. That's invention for the world because it's not out of self.
Right.
And so part of my mission, part of my purpose is to create the space for people to be in that, to be in the invention of the whole.
Right. You and I had talked about that when we met previously, and it's one of the things I loved was because very often I see people operating out of fear. I do it myself.
Yeah,
we all do
that's all. No question.
We operate out of fear, and it's I've been on a spiritual journey for at least 40 years, right? And for a very long time, and I know I can still slip into that because in the hierarchy of needs, your survival is first, and if you feel like your survival is threatened, suddenly the spiritual and the contribution and all those things go out of the window. And that was for me what was so inspiring about Plastic Bank. It was like, okay, we want to raise the consciousness of the planet. You and I talked a lot about that. We want to raise the consciousness of the planet. But how do you raise the consciousness of the planet? Well, give everybody yoga retreats. No. Right? No. Actually, it's lovely. It's wonderful. But if you can't feed your kid, I don't give a shit about yoga.
Not at all.
Right? So what you're doing is you're saying, let's feed your kids. Let's give you a roof.
Let's give you some hope.
Dignity,
let's give you some time future so you can contribute.
Community.
Correct.
Something to contribute. And suddenly
you're
in a different place about making a difference. And as you said, it doesn't have to be about, because we all know, especially those of us like yourself and me and my family, that we've traveled, and I've said this many times, I've been to very poor countries where people are far wealthier than the people here.
Yes.
Like you just
totally.
talked about.
Oh my goodness. And all their family are around and everyone's smiling and they're all playing and they're having a barbecue.
Yeah.
And there's no thought that they're too fat or too thin or too this or too that or I don't have enough.
Yeah,
they just enjoy.
They're not comparing their ass to
not
Kim
at all.
Kardashian.
Right.
The right car. Right.
Right.
So there's this other wealth.
Correct.
But even to that, there is a survival piece, and that's
correct.
Even there.
No question.
So that's what
that hierarchy
you're
of needs. We have to bring people out of that survival space, that sense of security.
So they can look at love, they can look at connection,
Exactly.
they can look at contribution, they can look
community,
at
and now they can serve community.
Yeah.
That's where we get back to the core value to gather the world together. You see, we can lift people that they can then go and gather together as well, and have them then lifted and be in service.
We live in a time, left, right, harsh, mild, whatever you want to call it, of political correctness and anti-political correctness, a time when people are often afraid of voicing their opinions. What's your bravest opinion that you sort of...
Wow. My bravest opinion? I take a moment for that because I don't think any of it's brave. Like, I'm not afraid to say anything. Like, none of it is brave anymore. It's just as it is, and it's just as I see life. So it doesn't need to be brave, because brave would be a thought that that I may not be valued, or someone may challenge me, or that it might threaten my sense of self. That's to be brave. But nothing can threaten my sense of self. I'm unlimited and powerful. Things that I find people be reactionary to is the knowing that we're beyond the tipping point. We're already beyond the tipping point. That's controversial for many. Many people don't want to hear that. Right?
So what do you see that as meaning in 10, 20, when your kids are grown, their kids are grown?
There's going to be much less, biodiversity, for sure. The norm certainly will be depravity of self. The norm will be pollution wherever we go. Those things, for the world is going to be perfect. The world is fine. I mean, it's been 60 years of plastic. Even if it's 1,000 years for all the plastic to degrade somehow, the world has survived mass extinction a number of times. It's us that's the issue, right?
Yeah. The line in The Matrix where Smith says, "You are the virus."
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we are the virus. We're the virus. We're a virus on the planet.
Right, and
no question. We are roses.
The virus will. The planet will survive.
Yes.
The virus is destroying things every day, as you said. Species are disappearing as we speak, which is horrendous and sad. I just saw last week that giraffes were put on the endangered list. I'm like, giraffes?
Now giraffes?
Right, but...
I mean, the bumblebee.
Yeah, the bumblebee, right?
Are you kidding me?
We won't survive without bees.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? I need to have some cosmetic or something like that. And, I need to have some other, beef and, it's so...
Yeah, it's...
I'm showing up powerfully in the condition that is in my realm of influence. And I am standing powerfully for what is and what can be, and I won't stop in that. And I know that there has to be a change, and we know that change can occur in unforeseen ways. What I do today may have an influence over someone in the future in the way they show up for some other element. Right. That's what I'm doing. It's a journey of self, and I am becoming the person who can make change. And in my authenticity of that, in my vulnerability of that, I get to truly be an authentic leader and inspire others, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think one of the unseen gifts of what is occurring are I have trouble even saying the words, fans. I have fans. It's really beautiful. It's so powerful. It's inspiring for me. And it continues to remind me I continue to need to become, because they have hope and they have inspiration. They look for mentorship and everything else. So that's beautiful. And I know that if I can continue being that person, I can influence others to be cause in the matter and create change, powerful. Then that's well lived as well. And I really feel like I've lived it. I've had so many amazing experiences. There was one of the centers we opened in Haiti. We opened up in a community of people with special needs. Now, in extreme poverty, of course, extreme poverty comes with ignorance. And they believe that if you had a child born with special needs, that you had done something evil in a previous life. And so you're ostracized. Your whole family's ostracized. Right. And so it's almost like a leper colony, where all the people with special needs live over there. Like, what? Because they did something bad. Right. What? It's our highest performing center. We created stability with solar power and Wi-Fi, and we gave dignity to those. And the special need could simply be just being born deaf.
Right. Wow.
Right. You'd be born deaf, and your family did something, so the whole family, your brothers, your sisters, your mother and father, are the others.
But how awesome that you're creating dignity and community.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Powerful. You know, I've had a big year this year. This has been a giant year. Now, that center became very meaningful because I had a daughter born with Down syndrome.
Right.
And the love and the gift of all of that and the community that gets to exist because of that, beautiful. Now, she passed in June. It was a big year.
Yeah.
And I have the depth of the love of that, which is a gift. And I share this story because everything is an instruction. Everything is an instruction. Nothing is defined. I get to be in the inventor. I'm the creator. I get to stand forward to be in the invention and creation for what the world needs. And often it is just self, not necessarily what we've done.
Right.
And so that's the inspiration that I try to leave with people. That the authentic leadership itself, perhaps, is more than enough.
Mm-hmm. As we draw to the end of the show, let me ask you, what is something really practical that you would want our viewers, our listeners to take action on in the next 3 to 5 days?
Dov, every time you buy something, you're voting for something. Don't ever forget that. Mm-hmm. And if you stand forward for what's occurring in the environment and you think something has to change, then be careful with what you buy, because what you buy is what will be manufactured. It's a vote. It's saying, yes, I vote for you to keep making this. Mm-hmm. And if you continue going to places that have excessive packaging and degradation, then that's what they're going to continue producing. So be careful.
Well, okay, so that brings me to Amazon. You
be careful.
You buy anything off Amazon. I mean, I'm constantly amazed. If we buy something from Amazon, it comes in a box that's this big.
Yep.
And there's this thing inside of it, that, and I'm like, what a waste. I mean, I hope that the cardboard is recycled. Yeah. I take it to the right place to be recycled, but it seems like,
Yeah, and yesterday I went to Best Buy to buy something because I wanted to support a local store, and I knew that they were price competitive, and I didn't have to wait, and all those things. And it's not necessarily about saving $1 sometimes. Mm-hmm. So what is the whole?
The bigger picture. Yeah.
So be aware of that.
Absolutely.
Right. You really are a butterfly. I mean, it has an impact on society.
I've said for as long as I can remember, you vote with your dollars.
The
most powerful vote you actually have. And it's not the one at the ballot. It's actually every day with your dollars.
That's a whole nother. We can unpack capitalism and democracy. That's a whole different. That's a whole other conversation.
We come back and have that conversation.
Right.
Definitely like that.
Right.
So as we come to the end, a little bit more playful. What is your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. My guilty pleasure. I just came back from the sailing adventure in the Virgin Islands. Nothing to be guilty about. I just wanted to be. I like being. I'm really lazy by nature, really. Although I'm super busy and executing, I like being still. I just want to hang out. I enjoy. I enjoy being in a creative space. I enjoy being in a place where I get to be creative. And so there's things that allow me to be in that creative space. It's a guilty pleasure.
Right.
And I enjoy that. I enjoy thought. I enjoy reading. I have a super high addiction to chocolate.
That's the guilty pleasure, right? The chocolate.
So that's just a joy. And I could go on. I'm superhuman. And hold on, I'm not superhuman. I am superly human. If you understand, right? So I'm so human. I'm fraught with my humanity, and I love that. I love red wine, Pinot Noir, and I don't have many other things, but
cool.
Guilty pleasure. I'm not sure how to answer that necessarily.
That's a great answer. Please tell our viewers, our listeners, where they can find out more about you, about what it is you do.
Plasticbank.com, critically important. Go to TED.com, search for just David Katz. That's one of the, I think, the most highly viewed TED on the ocean and in plastic. That's
KATZ.
KATZ, yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. And plasticbank.com. And there's so many ways for people to contribute. There's a plastic neutrality opportunity where you can stand forward to extract more material than you produce. It's very, very inexpensive. You know, the average consumption per adult, you know, it's very inexpensive. It's pennies to remove the plastic you produce that may be going to a landfill from the environment. So we you know, hope that people do that as well. And support and share and be a part of the movement, which is so important.
So, you know, one of the things I was able to do in the last couple of years is there was a gentleman who reached out to me through Facebook, interestingly enough, who was had gone through mental illness, had been homeless, and had also had some other health issues. He's actually started a movement and has created a massive following. If somebody who is potentially homeless for some way, somehow, is it, and the only reason I say it is because of what Daniel did, right? He reached out to me because he had seen my podcast. If somebody was watching this who was in that situation, where would they go? What would they do?
You know, certainly through the website, that's very important as well. We have an entire plasticbank.com, and there's a conversation that could be elicited from there as well. Okay, cool. We love to have those conversations. Fabulous. So people want to participate in creating ecosystems with us, critically important. That's very important. And of course, in a global perspective as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it has been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you. And I look forward to it. I think we should do part 2. What do you think?
I think part 2, of course.
We definitely should come back.
I can talk forever.
Yeah, you and I should have a great conversation about that.
I love it.
And I want to thank you, dear viewer, dear listener, for tuning in, for being part of this conversation. As always, I want to say to you the same as I always do, which is don't listen or just watch this podcast, because that's worth the hole in the donut. Transformation comes from application. Get out there and put it into action. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making us the #1 podcast globally for Fortune 500 listeners. We're grateful to you for sharing the show with everybody you know, and because of that, Inc. made us the #1 podcast in the world for to make you a better leader. And you can also find us now on traditional radio stations across the United States every Monday and Thursday, where you can also find us on Roku TV, on Binge TV, on SmartFM TV. Just look for my name, Dov, D-O-V, Barron. So you can find us there, and you can also find out more about me and what it is that I do, Dov Barron. You can find out at fullmontyleadership.com. I'm grateful to you for tuning in, and I'm grateful to you for sharing the show with everybody you know. Please continue to do that. We are here to raise consciousness, to make more conscious leaders. And as always, I'm Dov Barron, and I am here to assist you in tapping into your purpose so that you can have greater impact in your leadership, in your impact in everything that you do, just to be more heart, soul centered. Because listen, if we become purpose-driven as human beings, we become purpose-driven as organizations and as leaders, and we talked about in this show, leadership is by example, and it is relationship. So let's look to each other to be better. Let's lift each other up to be better. Till next time, this is Dov Barron saying, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about how you can be part of this amazing community. I'm out.